We are joined in the studio by author David Swinson, who has a new book out called The Second Girl. And I already like the line that says, Frankie Marr is a good detective with a very bad habit. Who is Frankie?
Frankie is a former D.C. police detective who was quietly forced into retirement because of a bad habit. And to supplement his income, he became a PI and worked for a defense attorney. But also because of his bad habit, he has to target drug dealers' homes for their stashes.
And you know a bit about this because your background is, you were a cop. You're not a drug dealer or user, but I was reading your biographical stuff, and it's very interesting. So tell us about it.
I was a detective for 16 years with the Metropolitan Police Department. Before I retired, my last assignment was high-intensity drug trafficking area. So a lot of the knowledge I gained with respect to like drug dealers and people like that, not drug dealers but users as well, was I had to, through the Department of Justice, debrief or interview hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. And so that gave me a lot of inside knowledge.
Well, the whole thing with police procedurals for me is really interesting because people, not as much today because we have a lot more realistic cop shows and books, but people used to think it was like Columbo. You deduce everything and then you put the guy in jail. But even if you deduce it, if you don't have the if you don't have the evidence, then it doesn't matter. Columbo used to just annoy everybody to death, but the whole process of what you do is really interesting to me. So tell us a little bit more about what happens when you debrief somebody like that, and then how you put a case together after that.
Well, I do love Columbo, but I'm also not the guy you want to sit with watching certain police shows, and I'm not going to mention them on the air.
You can.
It drives CSI then, and all that kind of stuff, and CIS. They do not follow police procedure.
What is a typical police procedure, and why aren't they done in these shows? Is it too boring and time consuming? So
yeah, it can be, and I'm sure it's because they have bad consultants too. But debriefing prisoners, a lot of what we would do is build up a case starting from the smallest person, and that is usually the person addicted to a substance like crack or heroin, and they have to burglarize homes. And then we learn as much as we can about this person, and if they're willing to cooperate, we take this person up the ladder all the way, from where the stolen property is being either sold or traded for narcotics. And then we take that further up the chain until we get to the guys that are trafficking, in kilos.
How do they not get caught? You had some of the literature here. Had a guy who had a $600 a day crack habit, so he had to rob to make that money. So there's a lot of burglaries, and then he's got to fence it afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, they get caught.
Yeah,
I mean, but sometimes some guys are so good that they don't get caught until the 200th, 300th burglary. You've got to understand that if someone has a $600, $800 a day crack habit, which is very common, that means they have to hit 5 to 6 homes or office buildings a day. A laptop back when I was working on the street would be worth $100, $125, $150, depending on what it was. So that means they would have to make at least $800 to $1,000 a day in property for trading. And
so, is your book, your primary character Frankie Marr has become a PI? But is it based on any of your experiences as a cop in D.C.?
Not the actual cases, no.
Okay. And what about the character? Where did you come up with him?
You were talking about police procedure, and actually when I came up with Frankie Marr, because he was in my head for a couple of years before I started writing and taking notes, But I really wanted to be free from police procedure because it can really restrict you as a writer in a lot of ways. So Frankie Marr freed me from that. He's a man, very amoral man, and he has a police code, but he doesn't follow police rules, or even PI rules. He breaks every kind of rule imaginable.
So is there a spoiler in here? What's his particular bad habit?
Oh, that's not a spoiler. It's cocaine. I didn't choose crack because that's a real beast. Cocaine is.
It's more manageable than
a lot. I mean, Hunter S. Thompson managed it for all his till the end of his life.
Hunter S. Thompson came to my college. This is 40 years ago, and
Bill Stanky booked him.
He breathed into the microphone for 20 minutes, then asked for a bottle of. He had sent somebody for a bottle of Jack Daniels. He chugged it, and he literally just stood there going, and people were staring at him like, "What? When is he going to speak?" He actually held the audience and then drank the Jack Daniels and left. So,
you know my story with Hunter.
No,
I mean I have a lost weekend with Hunter. No drugs, nothing like that. But I booked and promoted a couple of clubs in Long Beach, California, back in the '80s, and we had a dead night. It was Wednesday, and I thought of doing something like Evenings of Conversation. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I mentioned Bill Stanky is Bill Stanky booked all the college engagements for Hunter S. Thompson, Dr. Timothy Leary, all these people. And I knew Bill, so I gave him a call. And I said, I'm starting this thing up, and I'd really like to, get a couple of speakers, some authors. And I had mentioned Hunter S. Thompson. He said, are you sure you want to do that? But it was incredible. I mean, Jefferson Airplane came on stage and introduced him. Then everybody just started, can I say this? They started throwing joints on the stage. And I go, oh my gosh, we're going to get closed down. We're going to get shut down. And he's just drinking whiskey all night. And it's just, he mumbles. And
well, at least he spoke.
He spoke.
We just got the breathing.
I don't think it takes you a while to understand what he's saying when he does speak, because it's like listening to a foreign language or someone with an incredibly heavy accent.
Well, I don't want to deviate too much because we got to be here to promote the book. So is there a website we can go to as well?
Mulhollandbooks.com has a website with my book, and also davidswinson.com.
Davidswinson.com. Are you going to be in any bookstores in New York City at all?
Not yet. I don't know. We did instead of book signing tour, we did a pre-publicity tour, and did the opposite, which actually was more preferable. It worked out better. But I think there will be some select bookstores in the future, and definitely here in New York.
Are you going to does this fall under the thriller genre? Are you going to Thriller Fest? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I'd like to go to. I go to BoucherCon, Thriller Fest. So I will be here for that.
We just had Brad Meltzer on the show last week, and we have a lot of authors. I'm glad that you were able to join us. So are you? This sounds also like something that we also had Steve Hamilton, who's written the Second Life of Nick Mason, and just reading about this, I haven't read the book yet. I get the sense that this will be a feature film too. Have you got any offers yet?
Not that I know of. I know that it's being shopped, but I don't really pay attention to that. I come from Hollywood. I ran away from Hollywood. So,
take the money. It's okay.
Yeah, no, that'll be fine.
And Tony will sell you your New York apartment if you'd like. Well, thanks so much for joining us. It sounds like a great book. And just a little bit about you, too. You were considered one of the best detectives in your field. You closed over 300 burglaries on one guy.
No, yeah. I mean, I closed when I was working. D.C. had the highest closure rate for burglaries in the nation. So that's just one guy. I mean, I think the record really is 400 a guy, but I've closed thousands and thousands of burglaries.
D.C. is a small town, too. So how big is the police force there?
Well, that's big. It's 5,000. Well, actually, they're really scaled down now, about 3,800, so they're hiring, but they're supposed to be 5,000 strong. But a lot smaller than New York.
30,000 here.
Yeah.
And we need more. Well, David Swinson, thanks so much for joining us, and I look forward to reading the book.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.